Before he was RVD, Rob Van Dam was RAS, Robert Alexander Sikotsky. Born in Battle Creek, Michigan, Van Dam was an active kid. During the summer, he loved jumping off the diving board and doing flips into the water, which would serve him well in his future career. As a teenager, he attended a WWE show, and he famously got selected from the crowd to kiss the $1 Million Man's foot for $100. Around this same time, RVD had his heart set on becoming a wrestler. He found out a wrestler named The Original Sheik lived nearby, and under Sheik's guidance, RVD went from fan to wrestler. Debuting in 1990, Rob Van Dam spent his early years wrestling in his local area and for smaller companies. As he gained more experience, RVD got opportunities to work in front of larger crowds, including a brief run in WCW where he wrestled as Robbie V, despite already being called Rob Van Dam. RVD's run in WCW was lackluster, and he soon left and began wrestling as an independent again. After about 3 years, RVD would join ECW, which was a game changer for the whole damn show. Being able to perform in front of the ECW fans allowed Van Dam to show off his unorthodox style of wrestling. Despite being popular with fans, RVD would play a villainous character who felt he was too good for ECW and deserved to be working for a larger company. At the same time, ECW had an agreement that allowed WWE to use some of ECW's wrestlers. This gave Rob Van Dam the opportunity to appear in WWE in 1997. In a unique moment, RVD had his first WWE match as an ECW wrestler. On the May 12, 1997 episode of Raw, Jerry the King Lawler, who hated ECW, brought out Rob Van Dam. Remember that RVD thought he was better than ECW, so this made for a perfect fit. The King and Van Dam trashed ECW, getting the pro ECW fans fired up before the match started. RVD's first opponent was, ironically, Jeff Hardy. However, this is before Hardy was a full-time wrestler for the company and was mainly being used as an enhancement talent. Seconds after the bell rang, Van Dam sent his opponent crashing to the mat. Once they were both on their feet, RVD used a double underhook facebuster to slam Hardy back down. The whole damn show then used his signature spinning heel kick to send Jeff out of the ring. Rob Van Dam then hit another signature move, a somersault plancha, which looked like it nearly broke Van Dam's neck. Thankfully, he was okay, and the match returned to the ring. RVD planted Jeff Hardy on the mat and got on the top rope to hit the 5-star frog splash. Unfortunately for Jeff, that wasn't the end, as Rob Van Dam went to the opposite side and hit a split-legged moonsault. Mercifully, RVD went for the cover and got the win in his first WWE match. The debut of Rob Van Dam in WWE was pretty good. RVD got a decent number of exciting moves in, but didn't go overboard. He also made sure to play up his arrogant persona by taunting the crowd and acting as if the match was an afterthought for him. It's funny rewatching it though, because the commentators don't have any idea what RVD's moves are called.
Wow, did you see that? What elevation! Well, that was a Jimmy Snuka-like Hall of Fame splash. Better than Jimmy Snuka. Right off the top.
Before we get to what happened next, I'm going to briefly talk about this video's sponsor, Raycon. Here's something you don't know about me. I love walking. It helps me relax, clear my mind, and stay active. And what makes it even better is having a podcast or some music to listen to. That's where Raycon comes in. Their everyday earbuds are small, wireless, and thanks to the selection of gel tips they come with, they are sure to feel comfortable no matter who you are. This also prevents them from sticking out of your ears, unlike other brands. Most importantly, they have great sound, which is perfect for when I'm listening to a new episode of the OSW Review podcast, or just jamming out to Jinder Mahal's theme song. On top of all that, the everyday earbuds have a 32-hour battery life, built-in mic, 8-hour playtime, and also come with a 45-day happiness guarantee. On that note, Raycon starts at half the price of other premium audio brands, and if you use my link in the description, you'll receive 50% off your Raycon purchase. As like with all my sponsors, supporting Raycon helps support me, so I can't thank you guys and gals enough. Now let's get back to Rob Van Dam. RVD's first run in WWE lasted about a month. After that, he returned to ECW full-time. Over the next few years, Van Dam would become one of the company's most popular and iconic stars. He eventually became so liked that there was no choice but to end his arrogant character and embrace the fans' love and support. Unfortunately, at the height of his popularity, ECW shut down. Without a place to wrestle, RVD made his return to WWE in 2001. Along with fellow ECW alumni Tommy Dreamer, Van Dam jumped the barricade on Raw and attacked Kane and Chris Jericho. RVD and Dreamer joined up with other ECW wrestlers, as well as wrestlers from WCW, to form a faction called The Alliance. They waged war on WWE, with Rob Van Dam specifically targeting Jeff Hardy. This was not the same Hardy that RVD had wrestled back in 1997, though. The two had several phenomenal matches throughout 2001 and fought for the Hardcore Championship. RVD's popularity from ECW carried over into WWE, and while he was a villain, fans still cheered for him. Once the alliance was dissolved, RVD officially became a good guy again, and this time it was permanent. Things got off to a rocky start though, as Van Dam would soon lose the Hardcore title to The Undertaker. Going into 2002, RVD set his sights on the Intercontinental Championship. He earned an opportunity to challenge for the title at WrestleMania 18 and beat William Regal to win his second championship in WWE. For the next several months, Van Dam defended the title against the likes of Eddie Guerrero, Brock Lesnar, and Chris Benoit. While he wasn't always successful, RVD did end all of his feuds with the Intercontinental Championship around his waist, making RVD a 3-time champion. While still IC champ, RVD became the #1 contender for the World Heavyweight Championship. Things got heated when Triple H cost RVD the Intercontinental title. Despite the fans' support, Rob Van Dam wasn't able to win the world title, due to interference from Triple H's friend, Ric Flair. After getting his revenge on Flair, RVD formed a tag team with Kane. The two had some growing pains, but things ultimately worked out when they defeated 2 other teams to become the World Tag Team Champions. The whole damn show and the Devil's Favorite Demon had a good 2.5-month run with the belts, until losing them to La Resistance at Bad Blood. Things went from bad to worse, as Kane was forced to unmask shortly after he and RVD lost the tag titles. This caused Kane to attack his former tag team partner, and the Big Red Machine successfully defeated Van Dam in back-to-back matches. After a crummy few months, RVD bounced back by defeating Intercontinental Champion Christian in a ladder match. In his 4th IC title reign, RVD feuded with the likes of Chris Jericho and Randy Orton, the latter of which defeated Rob Van Dam and took the Intercontinental Championship away. Just like the last time RVD lost the IC belt, he formed a tag team shortly thereafter, this time with Booker T. They won the World Tag Team Championship only about a month after teaming together, but they also lost the belts in about the same time. When the draft rolled around, RVD was sent to SmackDown, causing his tag team with Booker T to come to an end. With the change, RVD began focusing on his singles career again and pursued the United States Championship. Despite coming close on several occasions, the master of the Van Daminator wasn't able to win the red, white, and blue belt. After his failed US title pursuit, Rob Van Dam went back to the tag team scene. This time, Rey Mysterio was Rob's partner. After a few unsuccessful attempts, the two managed to win the WWE Tag Team Championship at the end of 2004. Unfortunately, the next year started out with a disaster. Van Dam suffered a knee injury, and he and Rey lost the tag team titles. RVD was out for most of 2005, but did make a few appearances, including being attacked by Carlito on Raw. After not wrestling for an entire year, Rob Van Dam made his return at the 2006 Royal Rumble. Van Dam got his revenge on Carlito and beat the Man from the Caribbean in a singles match for good measure. RVD's momentum really started to build at WrestleMania 22, where he won the Money in the Bank contract. Shortly after this big accomplishment, RVD was drafted to the relaunched ECW. Then, at One Night Stand, RVD used his Money in the Bank contract to challenge WWE Champion John Cena. Thanks to some help from Edge, Van Dam beat Cena and won his first WWE World Championship. Just as things seemed like they couldn't get any better for RVD, they did. On ECW's premiere episode, Van Dam was awarded the ECW World Heavyweight Championship, making him a double world champion. Unfortunately, all this momentum crashed and burned in an instant. Less than a month after winning the WWE Championship, RVD was arrested in real life for drug possession. In response, RVD lost the WWE title and then the ECW title in the same week, and he was suspended for 30 days. Upon his return, Rob Van Dam fought tooth and nail to regain the ECW World Championship. Despite multiple opportunities, RVD came up short each and every time. From there, RVD formed a faction with the Sandman, Sabu, and Tommy Dreamer called the ECW Originals. They defeated rival group The New Breed at WrestleMania 23, making the whole damn show 4-0 at the grandest stage of them all. The ECW Originals disbanded soon after WrestleMania, and RVD went back to wrestling solo. He then began a feud with Randy Orton, who had injured him during a match. This set up a stretcher match at One Night Stand 2007. Despite Van Dam winning, the Viper started attacking RVD afterward. The assault ended when Orton planted RVD's head on the concrete floor with a DDT. This was to write RVD off TV, and Van Dam would leave the company soon after. Mr. Monday Night did make a few sporadic appearances in the following years, but those were just one-off deals. That was until 2013, when it was announced that RVD would return to WWE full-time at Money in the Bank. While he didn't become Mr. Money in the Bank again, Van Dam did begin a winning streak. This helped him earn a United States Championship match at SummerSlam. Just like in 2004, a US title reign was not meant to be. Despite technically winning the match, RVD did not win the belt due to his victory being by disqualification. Luckily, following SummerSlam, Rob Van Dam got to challenge for the World Heavyweight Championship. RVD faced off against the champion, Alberto Del Rio, in 2 title matches, but failed to pick up the W both times. After his last match with Del Rio, RVD would disappear from WWE again. The ECW original wasn't done yet though, and returned the night after WrestleMania 30. In what was technically his 4th run in WWE, Rob Van Dam had feuds with Jack Swagger and Cesaro, and even challenged Wade Barrett for the Intercontinental Championship. But these rivalries didn't amount to much. About 4 months after his return, RVD would call it quits from WWE once and for all. On the August 26, 2014 episode of Main Event, RVD would beat Seth Rollins by countout. This set up a rematch on SmackDown that same week, which was also Rob Van Dam's final match in WWE. Unlike his first WWE opponent, RVD's final foe started the match very aggressively. Rollins drove his boot into Van Dam's chest and backed him into the corner. The whole damn show managed to quickly recover and nailed Seth with a thrust kick. Before he could capitalize, Rob Van Dam got caught by one of his own moves, a spinning heel kick. With Rollins back in control, the Architect slammed his opponent down and covered him. Van Dam was able to kick out, but Seth Rollins was still in the driver's seat. In an ironic twist, Seth Rollins took time to taunt the crowd, like RVD had done back in his first WWE match. Van Dam used this to his advantage by using his quick feet to land a kick that hit Seth directly in the face. Van Dam followed up with clotheslines and a second boot to his opponent's head. RVD then went for Rolling Thunder, but Rollins was able to dodge the attack and grounded Van Dam. The fight wasn't over yet, as RVD missed a curb stomp and landed a 3rd kick on Seth Rollins. The former WWE champion decided to put it all on the line and went for a 5-star frog splash. No one was home this time either, and while he was able to dodge another curb stomp, Van Dam paid for it with an enziguri to the head. Using all of his strength, RVD caught Seth Rollins in the top turnbuckle and tried to mount a comeback. In a move of desperation, Rollins clawed at his opponent's face. This allowed Seth to grab a hold of Van Dam and hit him with a buckle bomb. Seth Rollins hit a second one, which left RVD unable to protect himself from the curb stomp. Rollins went for the pin and forced Rob Van Dam to leave WWE in defeat. Nothing super special in RVD's final match, though considering it was on TV and not pay-per-view, this is what I would expect. Both in ECW and WWE, RVD started out as a villain, but naturally became a face. That's reflected in Van Dam's first and last WWE matches. In 1997, the crowd is booing RVD for being full of himself. Jump to 2014, and fans are cheering him on and chanting his name. While not a perfect end to RVD's in-ring WWE career, I think this is a fine way to go out. After this match, Rob Van Dam quietly left WWE. He'd make occasional appearances over the next few years, but in a non-wrestling role. While he stopped competing in WWE, Rob Van Dam continued wrestling outside of the company. He's still working to this day, but not as often as he once did. In 2021, Van Dam was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. I'm sure this won't be the last time we'll see the whole damn show in WWE, but if it is, RVD definitely went out on a high note. Someone who didn't have a fitting end to his career, unfortunately, was Bray Wyatt. Watch the video on the left to see the Fiend's first and last matches in WWE. Shout out to Fabian Holdgrafer for being the first to comment on that video. Until next time, I'm Zach from Tap Out Corner, and that was Bell to Bell.